Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 81 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. I'm James Parisi here with my co-host Aiden Sarah, and man, have I been missing this. I've been thinking about it every day. Okay, I lied. I lied a little bit. I lied a lot a bit there. I love doing this, and I love chatting hockey with you, and I love making this for you guys. But you know what? Sometimes I enjoy a little, order a pizza when you get home, fall asleep at 7, not do anything after work on a weekday. So just know I make this time for you guys. So all 30 something of you, enjoy it because I'm going to keep going. We're going to keep going. My co-host Aiden Sarah, how are we doing, fella? What's new? How's life?
Dude, I feel like a balloon that got popped and is empty. Like that's the fumes I feel like I'm running on right now.
Wait, do you feel like a plastic bag drifting through the air wanting to start again?
No, because like the plastic bag at least is like flying, you know? It's got some
Hmm.
promise of going somewhere. I just feel like I'm like discarded. Like I don't think the wind's getting under my wings anytime soon.
Are you
That's
a
what I'm saying.
power line balloon or a tree balloon? Where did you get stuck in pop?
That's a good question. Wasn't there a big like huge thing in the States one time where they released like 70,000 balloons in the air thinking it was going to be this great idea, and then they all ended up in the river of that city? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's actually what the sequel to Tangled was about, but then they thought kids might not be into it.
I watched A Bug's Life today, so funny you're making a Disney reference.
You know what, Aiden? Tried watching A Bug's Life again probably 4 years ago. The animation angered me. It irked me. It tickled my brain the wrong way.
Have
It
you
looking at it sounded like someone rubbing styrofoam on my ears.
have you watched Toy Story again recently in the
Yeah,
last like
nostalgia
5 years?
saves it.
Nostalgia saves it. Dude, Sid in Toy Story, like the kid, like that's a hell spawn, man. Like that, if
Oh,
if
yeah.
there's a hell, that dude came out of hell. Like you want to talk animation, like that makes you sick to the stomach. Sid from Toy Story is a horrifying creation of 3D imaging.
That's who Caillou grew up to be because his parents never taught him manners. That's exactly what that is. If you have kids, don't let them watch Caillou. If Caillou still exists, I hope it doesn't.
It for
That
sure does,
that
yeah.
little brat would be like his parents would make him a nice dinner, and then he would go, "My tummy hurts," and then he would scurry off to go play with his stupid block.
Dude,
Nobody likes your blocks. Your blocks suck. Get some Lego, idiot.
I think we're 3 minutes in and we lost everybody now with your Caillou impression. So let's at least get into some hockey here before everybody else goes.
Well, Aiden, if we're talking hockey, and this is the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast, then let's start with two of the all-time greats. Two guys who have been carrying the NHL for the majority of our lives, and two guys who continue to make history being on top of their game each and every night. First things first, the guy we've been talking about all season, Alex Ovechkin, scores number 889 on Connor Hellebuck in a game against the Jets. Aiden, I think Ovi took all of the "you're getting too many empty netters" slander seriously because he's been sniping them. He's been getting in front of the net, getting in dirty areas. And if you go on the score, who I'm still not promoting, this is just they have the best app. I'm sorry. They have the OV goal tracker and they call it the Great Chase, and it's at the top of the news section. And you go on there and it shows every goalie he's scored against, the video of it, how he's done it and what the conditions were, and it's just the coolest thing. And you see at the like 20 to 10 goals to go mark, there's like five or six empty netters, and then you notice like, oh, okay, he rifled a couple past Calvin Picard, and then you're like, oh, he really likes scoring on Russian goalies right now, interesting. And then you start watching the videos and it's just snipe, snipe, snipe in front of the net, dirty area, love it. In five to go to tie it, six to be the record.
Are
Does he
we
do it this season? Is it against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the last game of the year? Please tell me. Please tell me.
it has to be, right? Like, come on. Like, it can't not be at this point. I'm sorry. It cannot be anything else at this point. Like, the machine, the Ovechkin machine has been running at this pace, I think, to give us that final showdown between Crosby and Ovechkin. And Wouldn't it be something if it's like down one and he scores twice too?
Oh,
Like just to really romanticize it. Speaking of Pittsburgh,
ties it with the tying record goal, beats it in overtime. If that happened, then there would be some real script writers because there are 10 games left after tonight. He does not have a goal yet. Tonight is Thursday, March 27th. Him and the Caps are currently playing against the,
Minnesota.
yeah, Minnesota Wild. That's right. I never used that tone again. That was terrible. That was like a 6-year-old trying on their best scary voice. That was Aiden, leave that one on the bench.
I'd rather hear a whole podcast in that voice than a whole podcast in the Caillou voice, though.
All right, I get you.
Uh,
I get you. I'll take that. I'll take that one. I understand that. And you know what? I deserve it. But this next all-time great, definitely not second to this to Ovi. And in my opinion, not really ahead of Ovi. They're both great in their respective ways. Sidney Crosby beat a Wayne Gretzky record of his own with his 20th consecutive point per game season. He is the only player ever to do that. He was tied with Gretzky at 19. And yeah, man, he continues to impress each and every night. The Penguins are currently getting curb stomped by the Buffalo Sabres of all teams, 7-1 at the end of the second period. Tristan Jarry has let in 8 of his last 19 shots, I believe it is. And oh boy, if Jari is still in the NHL for the remainder of the season, it's a courtesy thing. This is getting really bad, like really, really bad. But all of that aside, Aiden, thoughts on Crosby as he continues to impress, and all signs point towards him probably having a 21st point per game season next year.
Yeah, he's on an 8 game point streak too. 9, I guess now because he did get the one goal that Pittsburgh scored against Buffalo. It's 7-1 through 40 minutes of play as well. But he did get his 26th of the year this year. And yeah, I think I don't think we have to worry, James, about a depleted Sidney Crosby by next year's Olympics. I know obviously we've done a lot of yapping about best on best and kind of putting everything through the lens of these Team Canadas, but I think that's a pretty good benchmark for Sid to get over. Like obviously Ovechkin's chasing this record, and you wonder what's keeping Crosby going because as of right now, you look at the standings and it doesn't look like it's going to be playoffs for Pittsburgh this year. They're not crazy out of it. It's only 6 points.
It's over.
There's a lot of teams ahead of them, right? Um, in what's a pretty jam-packed Eastern Conference wildcard race. So to me, I'm looking at Sid and I'm saying, yeah, I think we're in that C at the Olympics one more time. That's the gas that's in his tank. And if if that's what's keeping him going, clearly something's going right. Because 8 game point streak, obviously now, like you said, broken the record. And just by the way, he now has exceeded the number of points as total games he could have played. He didn't like hit point per game and we're all just freaking out about, oh, he's at point per game, he's broken this record. No. He's clinched that at this point because the first time I heard it I was like, isn't there 10 games left? Like what are we talking about? But no, it's that's not the case and he will indeed 20th point per game season this year. Uh, we got to go from past stars to a present star though, because James, it's been like 15 minutes of this podcast or something similar, and we haven't talked about the fact that Nathan MacKinnon has a milestone just what 12 years into his NHL career.
Yeah, this would be year 12, year 11 or 12. Either or. Either or. Nathan MacKinnon has hit 1,000 career points in the regular season. Beautiful little ceremony they had with his parents and fiance coming out. Andrew Cogliano coming out and him and MacKinnon were super close after Cogs was acquired by the Avs, and he presented MacKinnon with a diamond, and then Gabe Landeskog injury sideline captain of the Avs came out and brought MacKinnon his gold stick. There's a silver stick for 1,000 games played. You get a gold stick for 1,000 points. And man, you know what? We are going to start getting to the point where, as long as he continues this pace, which with his fitness and with his dedication to the game, we're going to be seeing him in 5, 6 years passing all-time greats. on that all-time points leaderboard, barring some crazy significant injury, which we all hope will not happen to this like massive, massive superstar. Um, he's just gonna keep climbing, man. He's just gonna keep going. And I feel like this is a season where you see it in his eyes. He's not the only one out there in this fight. You can see this Avs team and that with a balanced attack and with a lot of guys determined to win and do some damage in the playoffs and go real deep playing into the end of the spring. He feels like he's going to war in the trenches with all his boys. It's a different look, and I think that's where he flourishes. I mean, it's crazy to say he wasn't flourishing last year when he had that insane season, and he's on his way to lead the league in points again, lead the league in assists again, and maybe another Ted Lindsay, maybe another Hart. It's and it would be his first Art Ross. Craziness, craziness. And is there anything MacKinnon can do to get better?
No. Come on. What? Oh God, no. No,
Well, he's
no, no,
already
no.
doing resistance training in a pool to improve his explosiveness because apparently that wasn't explosive enough.
Yeah, he's not good enough at that, sure.
Oh, yeah. He's already the best in the league at exploding off the line, so he has to go get better. Sure, dude, sure. All right.
You didn't drop Four Nations Face-Off MVP in there, which deserves a
Oh,
shout.
yeah. Yeah, because as fun as that was, I feel like after the Olympics next year, that tournament's going to be forgotten.
Oh, I'm sure, but we're here now.
Yeah.
We're here now. Let's celebrate it. And Nathan MacKinnon hitting 1,000 points. James, I don't need to add to James's love for this guy. Obviously, this is one of the best players in the league, and I revere him as much as almost anybody in the league. What I will say really quickly, Nathan MacKinnon was a Calder Trophy winner in his rookie year, and then he had 3 consecutive mediocre seasons. This is why you don't count out the teenager who doesn't look like he's fulfilling expectations. Nathan MacKinnon is why it might be 4 years after you got picked first overall, but if you got that dog in you, if you got that superstar in you waiting to break out, then there's not a lot that your opponents are going to be able to do to stop you. And Nathan MacKinnon's proven that for what, the better part of 9 consecutive seasons, 10 consecutive seasons now.
Definitely, man. I mean, it's just nonstop. It's nonstop. You watch a guy get better and better every year, and that dedication to the game, it's not something to be taken lightly. And it's something that I feel like we're gonna get down the line towards the end of his career one day, and people are gonna go, man, he was pretty good. And then they're gonna start looking into him and going, oh my God, he's really good. Oh, he was one of the best. Like, where do you think he lands in like the top 20 all time if he continues this pace for another 6 years?
He could, I think, eclipse the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could kind of safely say that. It's again, and I think about guys like Crosby. I think back to, just a Dominic Hasek, a Joe Sakic, a Mario Lemieux. Again, it's the moments that he's been deprived of, right? Like he's done it in the playoffs. He hasn't done it in the Team Canada sweater at the big stage yet, but it's like you said, like he's 29 years old, right? Like he's got a lot of runway still in front of him. And you also touched on the physical condition he's in. Like there's still nothing but like you said, improvement still to go. Like he's still trying to trying to improve on what is one of the best skill sets that anybody has in the NHL.
And to top it off, he'll run you through a wall if you say the wrong thing to him. So to take it, and the dog will keep barking at you. Moving on to a past all-time great, but maybe not past for much longer. As per Ryan Whitney of the Spit and Chicklets podcast, former Blackhawks captain Jonathan Toews may be making a comeback next season. There's been a little bit of talk about this before going earlier this season to the point where I believe Jets GM Kevin Cheveldayoff even said, yeah, we would look at him if he were making a comeback because Taves is a Winnipeg, Manitoba native. And I mean, by all accounts, if he's in the right spot mentally and physically, and especially with health wise, why wouldn't you want him to come in and be a 3C on your team as they're pushing for a Stanley Cup? Like, is that not the like the most perfect 3C ad you could ever have?
Yeah, I thought that about Ryan O'Reilly when he went to Toronto a couple years ago, and I think he did win them that round, right?
Yep.
But yeah, this is right up there with even, and I mean, Colorado are not deploying Brock Nelson as a third line center, but that were to that comes to mind as well. Jonathan Taves has been one of my favorite players since he entered the NHL, which is funny because I had three consecutive years of Vancouver Chicago playoff series to watch him beat the Canucks every year. But he's a class act. He's a complete player. One of the best captains in the NHL forever, three-time best on best international winner, and he's still only 36 years old. This is a guy who was drafted 1 year after Sidney Crosby, right? He's less than a full year older than Crosby, but he's in 1988. So he hasn't played since 2022-23, but he's been skating apparently daily. That's what we heard from what Ryan Whitney as part of this report is that he's skating daily in Arizona and he is going to come back next season. And yeah, it could be a contender, James, but couldn't you also see him filling in second line center in Chicago? And maybe Chicago trades him at the deadline to a contender to give him a playoff push. But is it crazy to think that Taves might jump into a Chicago Blackhawks team that would love to take a step forward next year, but can he could probably still fetch him a draft pick at the deadline if they don't?
Honestly, I love the idea, but every part of me tells me that it's not going to happen. I just feel like the Blackhawks are very next generation, turn the page on the old boys. And I mean, due to a lot of reasons that we don't need to get into as of right now, and we've talked about at length before, I just don't really feel like the Hawks want to reinvigorate that part of their history, even though it is a history full of victory, championships, and winning culture and all kinds of things like that. I feel like they're on a different chapter, and it would be the same as bringing Kane back. It just it doesn't fit for me. But I mean, I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. There are three teams that jump to mind that I feel like I could see him playing for. Number one, the Carolina Hurricanes. I feel like his style of game would absolutely suit the Hurricanes. And to the point where some of their talent on the wing could see him play as high as second line center. The Winnipeg Jets, of course, that one jumps to mind right away. And then number three, in the Minnesota Wild. Next season, when they're going to spend way, way, way more in free agency, they're going to have all of this room after the Parise and Suter buyouts are for the bulk of it off the books, and they will be ready to rock health wise. A bunch of their young players are even more ready to go. The youth movement mixed with the old dogs, mixed with, okay, it's our time now. Jonathan Taves popping in on the third or fourth line. Come on. I would be scared of that team. Right now, as a Colorado Avalanche fan, sorry, Minnesota, you don't worry me. You just don't. A lot of great players there. Really love what they're building. But at this point, I'm not too worried about it. You add in Jonathan Taves, a handful of veterans, and maybe one big trade for, I don't know, middle six scoring forward with some clutch ability. Now I've got some fear struck in my heart. So I don't care where Jonathan Taves goes as long as he comes back. I love what he's been doing. The guy went to Burning Man. The guy went on a bunch of find yourself vacations and he learned a lot about himself, learned a lot about others, and learned a lot about other people in his position. The guy was faced with a lot of health complications that were, how should I say, it felt like uncharted waters. And he did his due diligence and he found out everything he possibly could. And he's just been working to navigate it and make himself better and find a way to live with what he has or may be able to overcome. And you love to see it. And I would absolutely love to see maybe that covered in documentary form at some point. I think that would be really cool. And I think with the Taves come back to the NHL, we're more likely to see that.
Let's move on to the hottest team in hockey by a quite considerable margin because I want to talk St. Louis Blues. James, did you see this surge? Because obviously you look at the roster this St. Louis team has, and them pushing into the playoffs in a wild card spot should have been, no groundbreaking shock, but they did not look in it for a long time. They obviously fired their coach. They brought in Jim Montgomery, who we've gushed about on this podcast
Oh
time and
yeah.
time again, and something's clicked there. And I just want to also point something out because the St. Louis Blues for a while looked like a team that, the average age of these good players was trending squarely in the wrong direction. And you do have, right, like veteran centerman Braden Shen is 33 years old. Colton Parayko's 31. You've got Justin Falk, who's 32. You've got a veteran Cam Fowler still there. But they're superstars for the most part. Robert Thomas is 25 years old. Jordan Kyrou 26. Dylan Holloway, who has 24 goals and 60 points in 73 games for $2.29 million, is 23 years old. He's also, I don't know if you're watching much St. Louis Blues hockey, James. He's also running through guys on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
Like, um, Pavel Buchnevich is 29 years old. He's got 47 points in 68 games this year. Jake Neighbors is only 22. He's on the cusp of his second straight 20-goal season. Philip Broberg's 23 years old. He's having a great year on the back end. Like, St. Louis, James, to me, has turned themselves around from a team that I thought, okay, they've got some nice young pieces, but there's going to be a lot of bad before there's much good. To, you have a guy like Dalibor Dvorsky who's stepping into the lineup, and instead of this guy, being the player you build your future around, which was the idea when they drafted him in 2023. All of a sudden, you now get to bring him into a to a team that's ready to take the next step. And James, I know I'm gushing about the Blues right now, but the other thing they've done really well is made good of those picks in the 20s. They got Jimmy Snuggerud at 23 in 2022. They got Otto Stenberg at 25 in 2023. Theo Lindstein at 29 in 2023. I already talked about Neighbors. He was 26 in 2020. So this team has not only managed to keep together a very solid group of a mix of young players and veterans, but with somewhat limited draft capital. Like Dvorsky at 10 was their highest pick since way, way, way back in 2008 when they picked Alex Pietrangelo. Like, this is a sign that the rest of the Central Division should be scared of the Blues to me. Like, you've got Colorado, you've got the teams at the top of that division who I think, like, this season obviously you're not getting you're not getting,
Colorado, Winnipeg, Dallas should not have any fear of these guys.
not this season, no. And I wouldn't make the claim that they would this season because
Or
realistically,
maybe
like,
even next season.
yeah, yeah, because you again, Winnipeg is the ultimate question mark to me, right? Like, we'll see how real they are in not too long here, which everybody should be very excited about how close these playoffs are. Um, but those Blues could very sneakily get into a position where they are perennially a tough out in that Central Division, and the time in which getting to the Western Conference Final was ever going to be easy is so long gone, right? Like, there was some criticism of this playoff format that, like, when LA and Edmonton were both weaker than they are now, that it was giving some teams maybe an easier path. Man, oh man. Talk about a gauntlet in both conferences.
100%, man. And before we move on for the Blues, one guy I want to shine a light on is Zach Bolduc, 17th overall pick of the Blues a couple years back. I believe he's 22 right now. Bolduc has 12 points in his last 15 games. He's playing between 12 and 15 minutes a night, which is a couple minute increase from earlier this season. And Aiden, I remember talking about him with you briefly, and I don't know if you remember this, but you didn't have faith in him being a steady NHLer.
Oh, and he's taken that step this year for sure.
I really, really enjoy it because it doesn't happen often, especially when we're talking prospects. You have been proven wrong. Zach Bolduc looks like a full-time NHLer. Looks like he's sticking around for good because, I mean, have you seen the developments in his two-way game? In addition to this point production, in addition to him playing second power play unit, getting a couple reps with the first unit. I mean, it's just something crazy to see. And Aiden, I just want to point to a couple moments that would show why this Blues team has really, really picked it up this season. At the trade deadline, Captain Braden Shen was rumored to be traded, possibly to a team that his brother Luke was going to. Luke ends up on the Winnipeg Jets. Braden Shen stands pat. Since then, the Blues have been absolutely on fire, unstoppable. On top of that, Jordan Binnington coming back from the Four Nations face-off with that trophy. I mean, looking incredible, showing what he can do on the ice, showing his teammates that, yeah, oh yeah, I still got it. 2019 wasn't that long ago, boys. I'm right here. And on top of that, one more thing. I really, really think it was a subtle one earlier this season, but Blues GM Doug Armstrong going and getting Cam Fowler, a steady Eddie top four defenseman for his whole career.
He's remarkably exceeded my expectations in St. Louis.
I remember telling you Cam Fowler's still really good,
Yeah, by leaps and bounds, he's
and you
exceeded my
kept
expectations.
looking at the ages and naming the
Yeah.
ages.
Well, and here we are with obviously the Philip Broberg pickup. That's gonna make their defense younger. I'm a big Theo Lindstein fan, man. I know he was their third first rounder that year behind Dvorsky and Stenberg, so he's not gonna get a lot of love. But there's some solid young defensemen on this St. Louis team that, kind of at the perfect age to see off, right? Fowler and Parayko and Falk and take over those spots themselves.
Definitely, man. Definitely. We'll see if they make the playoffs. Hope they do. I think they would still, no matter who they play, they would put up a great round. They would all show up. Moving on. Philadelphia Flyers have fired head coach John Tortorella. This one's been all over the news. Brad Shaw named interim to finish off the last handful of games this season. And Aiden Torts getting fired comes after. What would you expect it to come after? Comes after a handful of comments. Handful of comments about not being able to coach this team anymore this season to the best of his ability. Like, I believe what he was saying was, I'm not going to get any better at coaching this season with these players. But this is kind of puzzling to me because I felt there were a lot of guys he really worked to improve their game. He was kind of adjusting to be more of a developmental coach. There were a lot of guys who were picking up good habits. There were guys who were struggling as well. But I mean, at the start of the season, Torts comes up to the presser and goes, "We are not going to be a team competing for a playoff spot this year, but we're going to be a team that tries to outwork everyone every night and continue getting better so that maybe next season we can come back and do this." I mean, that's kind of what was happening at times. You saw, I mean, a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes with benching your team's best players, but one thing that I kind of found puzzling as well, and I think sort of may have led to Torts leaving. Two guys who really, really improved under his tutelage, Scott Lawton and Morgan Frost. I really, really felt like that they were Torts players, and both of them traded at the deadline. Now you have him filling in the blanks with guys who he's maybe not as confident about. And I mean, Philly acquired Kuzmenko. I understand they traded them like a week or two later, if that, yeah, or a month later or something. But I mean, that is the opposite of a John Tortorella player. I don't understand why you would put him on his roster at all. I love Kuzmenko. I think he's hilarious. I think he's fun to watch sometimes. I mean, it doesn't fit at all. But just for a little bit of clarity, Flyers GM Danny Briere for today's press conference. Aiden, I'm going to put it simply and I'm going to put it blunt. This is exactly what Danny B said. I felt it was time. There you go. Sure, there's more quotes, but most of them say things along the lines of, I'm not going to get into the specifics of what we've dealt with. That's not fair to Torts. We just had some different opinions on things. Okay, that's not that bad. Coaches and GMs have different opinions all the time, especially with the team retooling, rebuilding, whatever you want to call it. I also felt it was time, but Aiden, I don't need to ask you how you felt about this. I need to ask you, do you think Torts has another NHL job?
Yeah, I think he has to. I think
Me too.
there's gonna be for sure one more team that definitely needs that discipline habit building coach, right? Like I honestly it's
Buffalo.
yeah, well, and I was even gonna say I think about an Anaheim. If Anaheim keeps struggling,
Oh.
I wouldn't I talk about a bad mix of Trevor Zegras and John Tortorella. But um yeah, I think I do agree that it was time.
Wait, Aiden. Is Greg Cronin not already that, but more intense behind closed doors and less intense to the media?
I don't know about his intensity behind closed doors. Greg Cronin is definitely not a player's coach. He is that habit discipline, the
Greg Cronin looks like he wants to choke slam you against the wall in an alley because you sneezed like 40 feet away from him.
So here's the other thing here about the interim tag on Bradshaw. It's got to be Rick Tocchet, doesn't it? Like, are we gonna dance around the fact that it's for sure gonna be Tocchet who takes this Philly job when his contract expires? Because his contract is expiring. Vancouver has not extended this guy yet. He's a former Flyer, James. It seems like that's just a match made in heaven a little bit there, especially with how sick and tired of this clown circus of a Vancouver organization Tocchet must be right now.
Yeah, I mean, if Talkett is no longer coach of the Canucks next season, then I do definitely think he's coach of the Flyers. With their whole alumni movement and all management positions, I think it makes more than perfect sense. And you know what? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him with him behind the bench with a lot of the guys they have there. I think him and Travis Konechny would be very, very good friends. Aiden, I think it's time we move on from this one and I don't really want to follow our rundown super tightly right now because I want to talk Washington Capitals just a little more. Defenseman Jacob Chychrun signing an 8-year, $72 million. That's $9 million per extension with the Washington Capitals. And this trade is looking so good. Nick Jensen and a draft pick for Jacob Chychrun already seemed like a steal. With how good he's been this season and how much he's fitting in with all those guys. My God, this is perfection. This is the guy to help usher them into the new era. In 5 years, when their core is Ryan Leonard, player X, player Y, random expensive free agent signing, Connor McMichael, and Jacob Chychrun, we're gonna be like, damn, they're still really good.
Tarek Parasak, baby. Don't count him out either.
Hey man, I would love to see it. I want to see him on that team more than anybody. I uh I think we call him what like one of our first friends of the pod. Is that something we say? He was
Yeah.
definitely one of our first notable guests and one of our most memorable. But man, I mean, everything seems to be falling into place for the Caps. Logan Thompson signed for a handful of years, always hitting the goal record. They're dominating the regular season. They're heading into a great playoff spot. So many of their younger core players are making great developments. Pierre-Luc Dubois is awesome there, like fits in fantastically. Tom Wilson is having what, like a career year. They're probably going to end up with four guys with 30 plus goals. Like this isn't even funny. It's just awesome.
Dylan Strome has been a machine for a few
Yep.
years in a row there now too.
Yep. I mean, dude, he was doing almost this in Chicago for a year and a half, and then they're like, and then he has one bad year, and then they're like, ah, see ya.
And they didn't even qualify him. That was
You
how he
telling me
left.
you couldn't get a second rounder out of Dylan Strome at the time? Come on.
It was all you had to do was offer a qualifying. It was a QO, man. It was, yeah. Here's the other thing with Chikrin that is one of the funnier stories of the week. So, in the same week that he secured his bag long term, um, Dylan Strome, Dylan Strome on the NHL Unscripted podcast said that Chikrin often has a quote new thing every day, and his newest thing was quote. This is from Strome. I heard yesterday that he's no light bulbs. He's doing candle lit in his house now. Yeah, that's what his thing was yesterday. So he's on to beeswax candles, is what I heard is apparently great for you. So now all we're talking about is beeswax candles. James, show off. Show off your candle.
I love candles, dude. Candles are great. I think my girlfriend gave me this one. It's coconut and palm. Smells like a beach, like a sunny tropical beach. It's awesome. I'm getting way into candles. Jacob Chikrin, I get you, dude. I get you. I'm not on beeswax. What is that what you said?
Yeah, they're like the old like stick candles, you know what I mean? That
Okay, okay, like something you would see on a menorah.
yeah. I think those are beeswax candles. Yeah.
All right, yeah, yeah. That's really cool. I like the like all of the different kinds of like decorations those go on. Like I'm starting to like Jacob Chikrin even more than I already did because like I've gotten really into odd decorations and like odd decorations that hold things. Like I got my girlfriend a little jewelry stand that looks like a chalice that goes in my bathroom. And like I got like an old seashell looking thing that's pretty cool. And what else did I get? Oh yeah, I'm on the hunt for a giant ship in a bottle. You know how hard those things are to find? And I found out they're hard to find because you have to make them. You have to get these really long tweezers and you have to use this like slow set and fast set glues and you have to put it together inside the bottle.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
Is
So
that
I found like a lot of small ones that are maybe the size of your palm. Like the ship is inside of the bottle that's the size of your palm. Found lots of those for like 15, $20, but man, I've only found one that looks huge and awesome. Because I mean, the biggest ones you see routinely are about the size of a Mickey, maybe. And if we have any American listeners, a Mickey is like the smaller bottle of alcohol. It's like the one that's smaller than a 2.6. Oh wait, you guys don't say two
no,
six
no.
either. Okay,
You're
all
you're
right.
getting farther from it actually, I
Losing
think.
battle. But
Yeah.
anyway, I found one that online that was like roughly the size, a little bit less deep than a 2 liter of Coca-Cola. And it had a big, mean looking pirate ship in there. I wanted that. But those are like $200. Pirate ship in a bottle, Aiden. Get on it. And candles. Me and Jacob Chikrin love this stuff.
Well, and you know what? Chikrin said that since Strom went on this podcast, he's had to stay off social media because he's now a quote walking meme following the comments. This is the quote from Chikrin. Stromer decided to go on a podcast last week and say I took every light bulb out of my house, and now people think I'm an absolute freak. That's what Chikrin said. Um, in some clarification, he went on to say that his wife and him are big into living a clean, healthy life, and he told the team that the last few nights after dinner, they'd turn the lights off in the house and do no artificial light and just some candles. He said it was really nice, and he was sleeping like a baby when he did that. So I think Jacob Chikrin, like aside from your rant about ships and bottles, like should be tuning into this part of the podcast just so that he knows somebody out there doesn't think he's a walking meme for this, because that was apparently everyone else's reaction aside from you.
I think he's pretty cool, man. I'm a huge fan now. I already liked him, but I'm on board. Someone get me a Chikrin jersey. All right. Time to talk about another defenseman. This time, not as fun. Miro Heiskanen, with his injury that's kept him out since before the Four Nations face-off. He could be out until the second round of playoffs. Aiden, this sucks. I'm not gonna mince words on it, but it doesn't suck if you're cheering for Colorado.
Yeah, so Dallas and Colorado, is there going to be a better first round matchup? Is there going to be a better series? Florida and Tampa right
Maybe
now.
maybe one of those Atlantic ones
Yeah, I was
that's
going to say
some combination of Tampa, Florida, and Toronto.
Well, right now Toronto's in first.
Yeah.
So that would give us a Battle of Florida first round, which would be pretty huge. Not to
Yeah,
mention,
since our podcast does not yet include profanity, which I've actually received some pushback on recently
oh
from
yeah,
friends. I've had friends and even buddies who have casually listened to it saying, let it fly, man. You guys have the right personalities for it. Just let it go. Let it
dude,
just unload the cage. And I'm scared to do that, Aiden, because there's going to be too much living
you
on the
know,
internet that we
yeah.
can't get rid of.
Well, and you know me, dude. Like, on behalf of both of us, like it's just, yeah, it's a floodgates thing. But
Another one of the reasons I don't want to do that is because one of my girlfriend's sisters said, "At least you're not like another one of those white dudes swearing on a podcast." And I just went, "Oh, right, I forgot. I did forget that that's a thing. That's a thing. Like just like a couple random dudes start a podcast and they swear and talk about lifestyle." Yeah,
yeah.
I'd never want to be that guy. If I'm ever that guy, cancel my podcast immediately, please. But yeah, I mean, I digress on that triple tangent. Um, yeah, Heiskanen out until the second round. Thomas Harley's been unreal in his absence. Esa Lindell is a great defenseman. Like they they have some depth. Liam Bixel, great, great call up. I knew he was solid. I didn't know he was this good.
Oh, and you can tell why they didn't want to move him because I
Yeah.
think Chris Tanev was supposed to cost that, or Noah Hannafin would have cost that when they were shopping for a defenseman at the deadline last year.
Right, right.
And they were like, no, nobody's touching Bichel at all. And yeah, clearly he was a
I
lot.
was saying Bishel all along. Apparently, it's Bixel.
Bixel, got it.
Yeah. And now, if I'm wrong about that, I'm going to sound really stupid. We're running with that. Let's move on from here because I don't want to talk too highly about Heiskanen just because it's almost Colorado versus Dallas season, and that is always a nightmare for me. So I'd rather move on from here before we start making me have flashbacks, hurting my feelings a little bit. Yes, you wanted to talk about Brandon Hagel a little bit. The guy's had an amazing season, golden assist a game or two ago. I mean, I believe he has a golden assist tonight as well, or at least an assist. It's been a career year for him, highlighted by the Four Nations face-off, highlighted by all the faith that John Cooper and the Bolts coaching staff have put in him. What can you say about this guy that I didn't just say?
Not a lot, but yeah, boy, is this year something of a breakout for this guy. And he's played 5 more games, but he has 10 more points than Braden Point. He has 11 more points than Jake Gensel in just 1 more game. Like, don't forget, this was
What does he have 12 more then? Come on, keep it going.
pardon me?
Well, you said he's got 10 more points than Braden Point. He's got, no, 10 more points than last year. He's got 11 more points than Braden Point. Come on, keep the counting
Oh,
going.
I gotta get to 12. There's
12 more
nobody.
what? He had 12 more bags of Cheetos this season than last season. I want to keep this going. It's fun.
That would be unsubstantiated claims, which,
Hmm.
much like profanity, we haven't included in this
As
podcast
per
very
James
much.
Parsi, Brandon Hagel eats more Cheetos than last year, 12 bags to be precise.
This is a guy who sixth round pick of Buffalo ends up getting his ELC in Chicago. Third year of that ELC is a breakout 21 goal season. Tampa pays an arm and a leg for him, and holy, was that arm and a leg more than worth it. Like,
Hell, take an ear too if this is what you're
yeah,
getting.
yeah. So 33 goals, 79 points in 71 games. And part of the reason I wanted to just pump this guy's tires up is again, I'm watching a lot of Tampa Bay Lightning hockey. I'm watching my cousin play whenever we can. He's got a goal tonight, one of Tampa Bay 7 on Utah. Gensel's got a pair as well. Points got his 36th. Worth mentioning as well that this Brandon Hagel success is a it's part of a testament to how good the pro scouting of the Tampa Bay Lightning is. Like the Tanner Jeannot trade was a miss, and of course, that year in the playoffs they did lose in the first round, and it was the first time they had done so in I think since they lost to Columbus in 2019. Um, but aside from that, you think about the Blake Colemans and the Barclay Goodrow, Zach Bogosian, Luke Shen, James. There are so many guys who Tampa Bay are able to get for cheap because they see the value in them that other teams just aren't seeing. And they've contributed to playoff runs. They've contributed to multiple Stanley Cups. Like Blake Coleman had a huge goal, and I know a Stanley Cup deciding game against the Dallas Stars. Him and Braden Point had the 2 goals in a 2-0 win. Like these are consequential players that the Lightning are getting for some good prices, and they're the right guys at the right moments.
Yeah,
Is Yanni Gord the next? Is the other one? Is that Yanni Gord trade the next one that we remember as wow, good thing they did that. That was good for them in the playoffs.
I mean, Aiden, if Oliver Bjorkstrand scores an overtime game-winning goal in this playoffs, everyone's going to look at them and go, "You guys are geniuses," and rightfully so. I mean, they just continue to do 90% of things right management-wise, and it's something you love to see. It's a master class. And again, I say most of the time because I still can't get behind letting Stamkos walk. Yeah, that still just feels wrong to me. But time to move on. Aiden, GM meetings happened recently, and there's always a ton of stuff to cover. Always a lot of the things that these guys discuss. Elliot Friedman always reports very, very closely on and gives us a great rundown of it. But I didn't pay as much attention this year. What went down? What was talked about? What changes, if any, are coming?
Well, the current collective bargaining agreement expires in September 2026, and if you're like every other hockey fan in the world and you are not a fan of NHL lockouts, this is good because there is some optimism about getting this deal done quick. The negotiations begin on April 1st. Current CBA expires in September 2026. Um, what I would say the negative side of this is I know we weren't ever, James, gonna get abolition of the salary cap, right? Like that's not something that is in the at least immediate possibilities for the NHL. Um, but we're getting a hard no on changing this playoff format. Emphatic no is actually how it was reported by Pierre LeBrun. So, what do you think of this collective bargaining agreement going forward without any plans to change the playoff format? Because that was one of the first things we heard.
Honestly, Aiden, I kind of like it. I understand that there's some divisional things we don't love about how the sometimes the 2 and 3 seeded team in a division end up being one of the best series, if not the best, all playoffs. But you know what? That just speaks to the parity in the league to me. You can have two super contenders in the same division while having probably 2, 3 other teams in the league just as good. And I mean, if you can have a first round that great, I used to be against it, but then have a good first round that great. If Colorado and Dallas is the hardest fought series in all of playoffs, then you know what? That just sets up momentum for the rest of the run. I'm okay with it. I don't want any changes. And I certainly, at this point, unless there are 4 more teams added to the league, I don't want more teams in playoffs.
Yeah, I can agree with that for now. I do think that in the NHL, the playoffs are a big enough thing that it would be nice to see half the league at least remain in it. Don't forget it was 16 of 24, right? And now we're at 16
Don't
of
forget it was 16 of, yeah, 24. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
I think even 23 maybe, wasn't it?
One or the other. Point
Yeah.
still stands either way that there's a significantly bigger chunk of the league getting eliminated before the playoffs now. But 16 is 16 there's a certain element of me that's just like 16 works so well. Right,
Yeah.
like and I know that convenience and ease shouldn't be at the top of the priority list when we're talking about
Yes, it should. Yes, it should once you're over the age of like 21. Because as a kid, you want it to be all cool and interesting and complicated and different. But once you are an adult, you're just like, all right, I don't need this to be weird and crazy. I just want it to work.
understandable. On the All-Star game, Gary Bettman said, quote, "We're reevaluating how we want to do things because I think we've raised the bar about as high as you can for an All-Star game in any sport. And so we want to make sure whatever we do is up to the standards that we've created." Um, Anything? Anything on that? Because I can't think of a single thing that could possibly reach the standard that he's describing. Because like he's talking about the Four Nations face-off being the being what's in place of this All-Star game. So now he is talking about making sure whatever quote we do is up to the standards that we've created. That's hard.
It is
That's what
hard.
strikes me right off the bat.
You're not going to meet that standard, and you know what? That's fine because this is gonna sound kind of corny, but at the end of Coachella Music Festival last year, one of my buddies and I we were sitting in our tent at the end of the night, having our last drink, just kind of having the rundown, digest everything, talk everything through, recap conversation. And I remember at one point, him and I looked at each other and went, "Wait, was this the peak? This as good as it gets?" And for a serious second there, we thought, oh my God, this might be as good as it gets. Is it all downhill from here? But then what we arrived at was, no, this sets the standard for how good things can be and how we can strive to make things even better and more fun. I believe that's the way the NHL should look at this.
Well, and I'm sure it's
Not,
the
oh no,
way
we peaked.
no, and I'm sure it's the way they're attacking it behind closed doors, right? Like at the
Right.
end of the day, there is the if you shoot for the moon, you land in the stars, whatever that
You shoot
expression
for the
is.
stars, you land on the moon.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Sentiment, you understand the sentiment.
The moon is
Um,
a lot closer than other stars, Aiden.
what you're right about that. Um,
Pick up a damn telescope, dude. Come on.
you sound like Ilya Bryzgalov.
Sun is not moon. Moon is not sun. But moon is
The
there, and then sun is there.
universe, these big plays.
Bears?
Ilya Bryzgalov is one of the best things to ever happen to hockey. Um, Last thing about the GM's meeting.
They're
Obviously,
talking about more Ilya Bryzgalov content.
yeah, there's more Russia content.
Oh yeah, 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 true.
Apparently, the leader of the American state and the leader of the Russian state were talking about playing a what was it, an NHL KHL exhibition? Was that the first point of call? Because I think it was then playing like a USA versus Russia like series, but I think it was an NHL KHL thing first.
I think it was a USA Russia thing, but they wanted the KHL involved in it in some way, like a couple KHL stars like added in.
Okay. Bettman said, quote, I'm not going to speculate or anything else. It is what it is. He also said that he only learned about it when the public did, which is the most flooring part of all of this to me.
See, to me, that's not surprising though. That doesn't surprise me like even one bit, and without going all politics on you, because if you're anything like me, listeners, I just it's not for me, dog. I don't need to spend anyone else's time on politics, but I just don't think Batman would have been considered in this conversation whatsoever. Just looking at the two dudes having the conversation, they would not even consider the fact that they'd have to ask Batman for permission. They'd be like, "Hey, so we're doing this. Sorry, how does it work?" That's kind of the way it works in my head. But I just want to go out and say this is probably not going to happen. If you read or listen to what any experts, insiders, journalists have said, um, probably not. The proper channels you have to go through and proper processes you have to go through to planning an event like this, those have not been met, touched, or even contacted. This is a spitballing thing. And Aiden, I have had many spitballing sessions over things that could happen in hockey over a beer at a bar. Have any of those happened? No. Do I have as much power as these people? No. But have me and my drinking a beer compadre or Trump and Putin reached out to Gary Bettman or the IOC or anyone about this either? No. So they've done about as much planning, considering, and reaching out that you and I have. So not gonna happen. Sorry, dog. I've said dog twice on this podcast, three if you count calling McKinnon the dog. I'm gonna dial that back a little bit. That's not something I want to make a habit of. I I I think there was an episode of New Girl where that happened, and it's just it's got to stop before it goes too far. So I apologize in as official of a manner as I possibly can.
Okay. I think we've got. I love this. Okay. I don't know. Our last hockey guy of the year, was it Keller for
Yeah, Clayton Keller.
it was Clayton Keller for that shot block and then coming back and scoring the empty netter. Um so my hockey guy of the year nominee here is one Mr. Mikhail Sergachev. So Mikhail Sergachev in his backyard has himself a chicken coop and he will give out the eggs that he takes from his chicken coop to his teammates in Utah. He is very often on a farm in Moscow during his summers. He spent his childhood in a farm that is, quote, pretty far south, so it's kind of warm. There's lots of rivers where we can swim around.
Where you can
So
spit, rivers where you can
it's
spit.
rivers where we can swim around. We wake up, we feed the goats, we collect the eggs. Sometimes we collect the hay that we cut ourselves, or we have a tractor pull up and cut some hay for us. He's talking about all of his time in Russia and says that all he has at his place in Utah is a little chicken coop, but he likes to share what he gets. Hockey guy of the year, Mikhail Sergachev,
For sharing eggs.
for sharing eggs. That's huge.
I don't put him in the top three in terms of my hockey guy of the year voting so far. By the way, at the end of the season, sorry, after playoffs, Aiden and I are going to have a compiled list, and we are going to be voting number one, number two, and number three. Whichever player has the most points after the vote and our hockey guy of the year vote wins. That is our official Great Canadian Hockey Podcast Hockey Guy of the Year award. That is something we're working towards. I want that to be a yearly thing. I think it's cool. It could be our thing. No one else has that thing. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love bringing that to the table. It's a little bit of an unorthodox one in comparison to our blood-soaked faces, a la Brendan Gallagher style. Um, I still love it though. It's a whole different ball game. I mean, it's like say if we were doing this when it came out how Brent Burns has that giant cargo backpack full of anything and everything you could ever imagine. He's the, oh, I got you, man. I got that in my bag. He's that guy. Even with things that you could never expect to have. To me, that's a hockey guy of the year because anything you're asking for in the dressing room, someone's like, "Oh, anybody have some toothpaste? So I'm supposed to go on a date after." Or like, "Oh, you have an extra thing of pit stick? Oh man, I'm hungry." Like, no, Brent Burns pulls out some protein powder. Gotcha. No worries. He probably has freeze-dried food for long hiking trips. You want to eat some iguana tail? I bet Brent Burns has a guy for that. To me, Brent Burns that year would have been a hockey guy of the year nominee in that kind of unorthodox way. All right. Backpedaling away from this wild tangent. Aiden, junior hockey. Lots going on. But before we get to everything you're going to get to, let's talk some Gavin McKenna because the guy is on the way to finishing a historic season. Aiden, am I correct in saying that he is a couple points away from having a better draft year -1 points production wise than Sidney Crosby did?
So, James, you're correct about how close this kid is. But the regular season's over. So we've just wrapped up his point production. So he'll finish with 41 goals and 129 points in 56 games. For frame of reference, Crosby had 54 goals and 135 points in 59 games with Rimouski in the year before his draft year, which is, of course, what we're talking about with Gavin McKenna here. James, a couple weeks ago, I guess now it's been a bit now, but one of the things I do for the Red Deer Rebels is I'll work away games, just cutting up their social media, writing their post game article. And on Saturday, I think it was the 15th of March, I worked the Medicine Hat Red Deer game.
Hmm.
Um, the kid had 7 points. So I just watched him absolutely rip the Rebels to shreds for an entire game. He his last, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. His last 9 games, James, he had 2 or more points in every single one of those games. His
Oh my
last
God.
his last four, he had 23 points in his last 4 regular season games. Um, this is the next one, right? Like
Yeah.
we talk a lot about these quote unquote generational talents when they come up, but Gavin McKenna is having himself an amazing end to this season, and that's a good segue, James. Actually, I think that's an excellent segue into our second topic here, a discussion, because there's a lot more news about the WHL. First and foremost, I will quickly run you through what we are looking at for the WHL playoffs. Medicine Hat, first place in the Eastern Conference. They're going to take on the Swift Current Broncos. So that is Gavin McKenna's Medicine Hat Tigers. On the other side, you have Landon DuPont's Everett Silvertips in first. They're taking on the Seattle Thunderbirds in the first round. So if you guys don't understand, if you guys don't know who Gavin McKenna and Landon DuPont are, currently, as of right now, they are projected to be the number one overall picks in 2026 and 2027, respectively. Landon DuPont's having the best season ever by a 15-year-old defenseman in the CHL playing for Everett. And it's not really common that you get an exceptional status player on a team that's this good. Don't forget that Connor Bedard's
Yeah.
Regina Pats like barely squeaked into the playoffs. Um, so that's a good segue into March 20th's announcement, and I know we're over a week later now, but the WHL and the streaming platform Victory Plus, which is owned by Canadian tech company A Parent Media Corporation, APMC, is a free ad-supported streaming service for live and on-demand sports content. They have signed a multi-year deal with the Western Hockey League. The deal is to see all WHL regular season and playoff games streamed for free on Victory Plus starting with the 2025 WHL playoffs, which starts tomorrow. So this will be the first time in the WHL's history that anybody can watch their games for free, completely around the world. This is huge to me because, again, I'm sitting here talking about the fact that I was watching Gavin McKenna score 7 points in a game because I was working that game. But a Medicine Hat Tigers game with this kid on the ice, I'm watching. I'm throwing that on anytime I can, honestly, James. And it's hard to it's hard to justify paying for, right? Like I know how everybody's lives have been taken up with monthly subscription fees, and obviously,
I just canceled 7 of them that I didn't even realize I
ooh,
had.
ooh, there you go. That's
Aiden's been paying for the Zoom Premium this whole time, and I only found out like 4 months ago that I was paying $30 a month for Zoom.
really,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah, ugly. I know. And I think
Um,
that was just for like an online fantasy hockey draft that I wanted a Zoom call for.
well, and so all that to say, like, I understand, even if you're like a huge hockey fan, why you're not paying for CHL Live, right? Like, you're not paying for CHL TV. But the opportunity to watch again, like, we're talking Gavin McKenna right now, but it's McKenna this year. Him and Landon Dupont are both in the WHL next year. It's a great time to really get into junior hockey, especially in Western Canada. That's where we're based, right? So that's where that's why it's such a bright light shining on this. And then obviously, we've talked a lot about how the WHL and the NCAA are taking steps to come together in the way players develop and have a path for WHL players to go to the NCAA. So
CHL players in general.
CHL players in general, yeah. Um, so that's two huge pieces of news. 4 days after the Victory Plus announcement, the WHL awarded an expansion franchise to Penticton. If you know anything about Junior A hockey, the Penticton Vees have been the absolute pillar of that league forever, and it's over. They are now part of the Western Hockey League. It's a building that's equipped to do it by every indication. It's a franchise that's equipped to do it. It's a second WHL team in the Okanagan. They paid a quite hefty, not completely sure what the number was, but they paid reportedly a quite hefty fee to the Kelowna Rockets for the territorial rights because they're now, of course, encroaching on their market. But
In one former NHLer and one current NHLer are part owners. Who are they? Do you know?
Mark Scheifele is one of them. I don't know off the top of my head who the other one is, but I read it
Mike
earlier
Richter.
today. Mike Richter, yeah. So Mark Scheifele, Mike Richter, part of that ownership group. Um, so that's for next year already. We're jumping right in. To start in the 2026-27 season, we are going to see another expansion team to Chilliwack. So there is two WHL teams coming, two WHL teams coming specifically to British Columbia, of course. And listen, if you are in or around these markets, you have new teams and you have a way to watch all of their hockey for free. I cannot stress enough how good Canadian major junior hockey is. The WHL is the best junior hockey in the world, I think. And I'm so excited for the ability personally to follow it more closely and not just, the team I work for and being able to have an eye on the league as a whole. It's been three incredible pieces of news, I think, this season for the WHL. Two of them just happened back to back, and then, of course, back to the NCAA announcement.
I gapped out. Did you mention Chilliwack?
Yeah, I did mention James is focused on this trivia thing because we keep glazing over the games, which is I think reflective of just the fact that doing the rest of the podcast like it's been taking a lot more out of us than we would have hoped.
One note on Chilliwack getting a WHL team. Again, they used to have a WHL team back in the day. Currently, they've had the Chilliwack Chiefs of the BCHL. I work with a lot of guys from Chilliwack. My buddy Joel, who has listened to, I think, one episode of this podcast. Uh, yeah, I work with him quite a bit. Awesome guy. He has said today, I'm stoked. I am and I'm tired of watching the Chiefs get run over. And as a former employee of the Surrey Eagles who has watched the Eagles run over the Chiefs in said way a couple times, I get it. I totally get it. But Ian,
Really nice arena, dude. That
what?
Coliseum's nice. Chilliwack Coliseum's very nice.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Very nice rink for that too. It's two franchises coming in where they don't need a rink built because the last time when they moved the Kootenay Ice to Winnipeg, they were supposed to build a rink and didn't, and that's why we now have Wenatchee where we do.
Okay, Aiden, piece of trivia. We are going to call it Name That Player. Yeah, I just felt like that was kind of a fun way to go about it. That the names aren't gonna stick. They're just goofing. Like it's no career trajectories. It doesn't have a steady ring like that. But you'll remember we played a game like this once before, and I can't remember the player I had you figure out. I had stuff like their nickname. I had all kinds of little things. And basically the rules are you will get a maximum of 6 pieces of information in hint form. 2 of them you get right off the bat, and if you answer the question correctly after those 2, you get all 5 points. Now, every other hint you take after that knocks you down a point. And then if you can't get it right at all after that, you don't even get 1 out of 5. You fail completely. You get a 0. So, Aiden, are you ready?
Let's
Oh, ready
do
to
it.
go?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Hint number 1. After being traded from his first team to his second team, this player flourished while playing alongside one of his best friends. All right, hint number 2. When this player scored their first goal while playing for that first team that I mentioned earlier, or didn't mention, haha, sorry, Aiden, the reporter asked him what his first thought was when he scored. And the player very notably and remarkably answered, when I scored the goal, the first thing I thought was, oh no, I have to go do media now. And back during this time, that was one of the like TSN or Sports Center highlights of the night. That was like the sound bite that they played for 9 hours straight until more sports news came down the gut the next day. Aiden, are you thinking anything? Do you have
Oh,
anything so far?
no, I don't know, man.
Okay, so is that asking for hint number three and
Yeah,
fourth, your first
I'm
point?
I'm not getting it on this. Like I'm looking at the what I have down in the notebook. I'm like, no, this is not gonna happen.
This player won a Stanley Cup with their first team and didn't play for them after. If didn't play for them for long after, if at all. How are we feeling? Do we have any guesses, thoughts so far? Because one of the best parts about this game, you do get an unlimited amount of guesses in general, but I will ask you to only maybe max out two guesses after each hand.
Okay, okay. It
But
takes a little bit of pressure off because
yeah,
now I can
guessing
play with
wrong won't
things.
make you lose any points.
Yeah,
You only
yeah.
get 0 points if you give up at the end.
Okay.
In theory, you and I could be sitting here and turn this into a 4 hour pod of you just guessing away.
Oh, yeah, I'm
It'd be
sure.
pathetic, but we're not gonna do that. You ready for hint number four, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so.
To some people, it may seem like this player is on his third NHL team, but he's actually just on his second. He just came back for another stint with that first team. It seems like that way because it seems like he's on his third team just because he was so brief the first time around. Now, Aiden, I do only have two more hints for you, and the the next one should be a dead giveaway. And then if that's not and you don't get it on the final one, then I will be shocked.
Oh man. It's the Stanley Cup on the first team that it feels like I should be like getting it on that, and that's where I keep running in circles chasing my tail about 2012 LA Kings.
Yeah. Okay. This player played in two World Junior Hockey Championships, not medaling in the first, but winning gold in the second. Those were in consecutive years.
Yeah, not medaling in the first, winning gold in the second.
And Aiden, I will mention this is an active player whose career you have watched in its entirety.
Yeah, active player, whole career. Okay.
So you haven't guessed anything yet. Is there anything that's jumping to mind?
No medal gold, no medal gold. So what? I need to figure out what team would have done that. Was it, are we talking 2010 American?
Honestly, bro, you're ice cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not you're not far off in years, but you're not even in relative with the same team. You're ready for the final hint, aren't you?
No, no.
I'm not trying to rush you through, but listeners, you can't see this. Aiden's got a real pathetic look on his face. He knows he's defeated. He knows he can't get this. He knows that I'm probably gonna skunk him and he's gonna come out of this with 0 points. Zero.
Yeah, what's the last one?
You want the last hint?
Yeah.
This player's nickname is Turbo.
Oh, it's not Brandon Tanev. What am I on then? Is that the little West Coast bubble I'm in? I only think one player has the name Turbo. I could have sworn that was his name in Seattle.
I think that is also Brandon Tanev's nickname, but this player's nickname is Turbo. And this player's nickname was Turbo first. This player's nickname has been Turbo since I was like 16, 18.
I was, yeah,
Yeah, probably 18.
it's Teravainen, dude.
Yes, it is Teuvo Teravainen, who started his career winning the Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks, went to play for the Carolina Hurricanes with his best friend Sebastian Aho, and then now, just this past summer, has re-signed with the Chicago Blackhawks, multi-year deal. Some hints that I left out that would have just been there to screw with you, um, uh, were uh, notably this player and his best friend teammate uh, had an interview one summer before the season, and the best friend said, "There's only one dish this player can make, and that is to put chicken nuggets in the oven, take them out, and that's it." And then the player responds, "Well, yeah, I am good at making them." And then I was gonna bring up that moment would have been referenced in the NHL Player Media Tour Europe edition, and that would have been the hint from that. Another fun Teuvo Teravainen fact: he does not read books. It's been brought up in at least three interviews that the last book he read was early in high school, and he avoided them after. So do not ever hand Teuvo Teravainen a book. Aiden, I really enjoy this format of game. I'd love it if you hit me with one of these next podcasts. The funnier and quirkier, the better. You're not meant to be great at it, Aiden. You got 1 point.
Yeah.
You got 1 point out of five. It's virtually impossible to get 5 out of 5. You would have had to just be on a hunch. But
I would
yeah,
have had to have known the media quote, right? Like that's it.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I mean, admittedly, I thought it was something you were familiar with. But then when I gave you the World Juniors one, I thought that was going to slip it all together. Because I thought you were going to think of the fact that Finland didn't medal in 2013, but then they won it in 2014.
Yeah, I was too far back. Like I was concentrated on late 2000s, early 2010s, and I wasn't
Ah, that'll get you.
that's the time frame problem there.
Well, Aiden, we have a ton of questions from our Instagram followers to get to. Do you want to get us started on those?
Yeah, as I work to open up my phone, I'll read the one that I wrote down on the document. One player who definitely will be on Team Canada next year that wasn't this year, and one guy that was there this year that won't be there next year. Do you have a thought?
I think with a healthy team, Thomas Harley is not there, and I know that feels like a cop out because he was added in late, but I just think with the depth available, I don't think we see him. On top of that, a player that wasn't on Team Canada this year, that'll be there next year. Give me Macklin Celebrini. I think his game suits best on best incredibly well. You could say Bedard as well. I mean, he could take leaps and bounds next year, but I just, in terms of best on best play and right now in the complete game, I love what Celebrini brings to the table.
Okay, so my guy for the was there four nations won't be there Olympics is Mark Stone. And I don't want to come across like I'm disrespecting Mark Stone here. He was very solid in the Four Nations face-off. He's obviously an incredible player. He's only 32 years old. He is going to turn 33 before the Olympics. But the problem with Mark Stone in the Olympics is the fact it's in Europe because it's being played on international sized ice. So you're going to see a lot of guys whose skating is the reason they're there and who potentially in Mark Stone's case, his skating is going to be what holds him out of this lineup. I was going to say Macklin Celebrini. You stepped on my toes there. Um,
Did it hurt?
Logan Thompson has to be there. There is no way, shape, or form Logan Thompson gets snubbed from this team again. I cannot imagine it with how much better he is than every other guy not named Jordan Binnington. And you can make the case for Aiden Hill, but even then, like I still think Thompson is clear there.
Mackenzie Blackwood too. You could have gone that. Like it would have been a cop out for us to go Samuel Montembeault. He was the third goalie. He never played a game. He didn't hit the ice other than practice. But yeah. Next up, Aiden, what is our next question? And I have a feeling we've got a couple odd ones.
We do have, well, the oddness is how many people actually jumped in on this. Thank you so much. Somebody told us to bring on more guests or a guest host. Today, I was very hopeful we'd get a big interview. It didn't happen, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I'm working on it. Okay, so we are going to first address this triple question.
A triple
Um,
question.
it's two re-signing questions. Does McDavid re-sign with the Oilers and does Tavares re-sign with the Leafs? I think we have to say yes, yes.
Yes
Pretty,
and yes, for sure.
yeah. I don't really see a way that either of those things don't happen, especially because John Tavares is going to take the hometown discount to stay in Toronto. You already know he will.
It'll be like 3 million a year for two
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
3 years, something.
Um, the last part of this question, they were wondering if we think the Utah Hockey Club is going to make the cut. I assume make the cut means make the playoffs. I very much wanted them to make the playoffs, but they're 8 points back of St. Louis now. They would have to leapfrog Calgary and Vancouver. I don't think Calgary or Vancouver are actually going to make the playoffs either. I think it
And
is,
Utah just lost 8-0 to the Tampa Bay Lightning today.
yeah, they got spanked. So unfortunately, I think the end of the line for Utah in their first season there, but um, nothing but good days ahead for that franchise, I think and I hope.
100% love watching them. Next question.
Should the NHL expand to the 24 team playoff format if and when they expand to 36 teams?
No, no. I don't want that. If we get to 30, if slash when we get to 36 teams, that's a long time from now, man. Like you gotta think. We're at 32
It's
right now. 36 would be like 10 plus years.
it specifies 34 to 36, but I thought 36 would be the best number to attack the 24 with. My thinking, James, in an expanded playoff, and I know again we're digging into
Wild card series in, one and done.
well, I would maybe look at going from 16 teams to 20. And
Okay.
then you have the top six in each conference, which again would be again one, two, three in each division if that's how you want to play it. And then it's wild card one versus wild card four and wild
Sure.
card two versus wild card three, right? And then at least that adds the element of it adds a little bit to the playoffs. You're going to have more than half the teams in the playoffs, even if you are getting to 34, 36 teams. I like the idea of 20 instead of 16. 24 is a lot. And um,
That's too much. That's too
the,
much to follow. I don't want that.
I get fatigued by the third round every year, dude.
Yeah,
I do.
same.
Yeah.
Same. I
And
never did as a kid. Now I do.
yeah. So that would be my hang up on 24. Next question. If you could be any hockey player in the world, who would you be and why? This is a cop-out because I talked about him earlier. I want to achieve the level of inner peace that Ilya Bryzgalov always seemed to be at. Like, I think being a rock star goalie, but being known for your philosophical mind is a great legacy to leave behind in the NHL. And he's one of the funniest people I've ever heard talk that played in this league.
Give me Jaromir Jagr. There's
Yeah.
too many reasons to count, but the guy was a rock star in multiple generations, one of the coolest people out there. And have you ever met a person who hated Jagr off the ice? I mean, not met a person, heard of a person.
No.
Yeah, universally loved, universally envied, awesome person. Remember when that model tried to cancel him?
Well, a model tried to like extort him is what it
Yep.
was. She
Yeah,
she had
yeah.
a she had a picture of the two of them in bed together and tried to like extort him for money or she was gonna post it and then Yager just posted it himself.
Yeah.
So funny.
He was like, I don't care, I'm old. All right, next question.
Oh, dude. Jaromir Jagr is an excellent answer. Who's gonna have a better career, Connor Bedard or Macklin Celebrini?
I hate the timing of this question because I feel like any answer is rude or lying. I I'm so sold on Celebrini, and it's not that I'm not sold on Bedard, but I love the longevity and style of Celebrini's game to the point where I'm biased. I know Bedard is probably a better hockey player and probably has a higher ceiling.
I
It's not that he probably has a higher ceiling, he does.
I would echo much of those feelings. I would
It's just better career in general. God, that's such a hard one. I can't even. Bedard's never eaten fast food in his life or drank alcohol or any of these things. Like he's tracked every item that's gone into his body since he was probably in infancy. Like they've had a MyFitnessPal premium subscription for the guy since he was 4. I I just If we're talking about winning legacy, I want to say it's probably Celebrini. I love that core that they're building. I think they're going to win cups. If we're talking most points and maybe most games played, it's Bedard.
I think Connor Bedard is gonna score goals in this league like nobody's business. I'm a huge fan of Celebrini's, and I'm a huge fan of everything that players do well that isn't scoring goals, right? Like
Yeah,
you hear me
totally.
talk about it all the time. Um, but
Goals win games.
yeah, and I think the X factor of the fact that Connor Bedard, I think, will be a 60 goal scorer in the NHL. Last question. James, I'm gonna be honest, I might have to sit this one out. I have no idea what oyster burger is.
Aiden, have I ever told you about Granny's Chicken in Port Alberni?
Ooh.
The incredibly greasy, dirty old pizza and fried chicken and food delivery place that's open until 5 in the morning. So that's where we would order from after parties when we were growing up.
So was there something called an oyster burger at this
Yes.
establishment?
So some things we would do is late at night, we would browse through the menu and joke about all the silly things we would get, even though we're most likely getting something called a five-finger discount, which is just 5 pieces of chicken strips and then a couple dipping sauces, an order of fries and a pop. That was the most common thing. Or we would get pizzas. The odd guy would get a normal burger. But then one day, I'm ripping through the menu. This menu never changed. This menu looked the same from when I was 2 years old up until now. Um, I find at the bottom oyster burger. Like, this can't be real. I'm looking around the room, my friends. You guys know Granny's have an oyster burger? So, a couple of my friends tried it. One was supposed to ride his bike home that night, like a bicycle, mountain bike. And he soiled himself. Uh, he described it as a, a real hot boiling ball of gooey fishness going through me. Another person who ate it almost threw up after a couple bites, and they described it as a real fishy hard-boiled egg, but deep fried.
So the question itself wasn't just oyster burger question mark. It was posing the option between whether you would rather have Quiznos or an oyster burger.
Ah, I know this comes from Joe Shan, a member of our fantasy hockey league. Yeah, because Joe would come over for our draft party and for a hockey game, stuff like that every year. And we're hung over on a Sunday, fighting off some Sunday scaries and just sitting there watching movie after movie after movie. What do? We order buy one, get one free Quiznos subs. Almost immediately get sick to our stomach, but we're knocking down a Quiznos sub or two every hangover together. And Aiden, I hate it. I detest it. This is the Gazola's pizza of my life. I don't even really like it, but like I know it's got to be done. Yeah. No
I
more questions.
respect that. No, that was the last one.
I love it. I love it. I love that we saved that one for last. Shout out Joe Shan. His names for his team in our fantasy league. Um, uh they used to just talk about how bad his team was, and then for 2 or 3 years it was called like on the come up, and the running joke in our group chat would be like, You up there yet, Joe?" And he's like toiling in 12th. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's working on it now. I think he's got to be what, like 8 or something.
Is he? I was about to say, I think I'm in 12th right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is also the person who everyone's been in a fantasy league with the kind of person where they will make a trade every week, no matter what. Like,
Oh,
oh, he
dude,
just acquired two superstar players, he'll trade them.
he's behind me, dude. I'm in 12th and he's in 13th.
All right, well, he's not on the come up, he's still down.
No, that sucks.
Well, on that note, you know what? Enjoy your shout out, Joe. I hope you loved it. And I'm not gonna tell him in person or over a message or anything like that that I shouted him out on the pod. So if he doesn't listen, I know, and then he's real guilty. And
This
then
is literally the very end of this episode. Like,
yeah,
He
Yeah,
could have
it's
listened to
the
the
very end.
entirety of the episode and then shut it off because he didn't want to hear us be stupid, and he's still gonna catch heat for that.
Well, I love all the questions. Thank you guys all so much for the engagement. It was a ton of fun. And thank you so much for the love on the reels, the feedback we've had. I've had lots of friends talk to me recently about little suggestions they have. We love it. Love the support. We love you all. Kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's kind of weird to say I love you all. I don't love all of you. Maybe I hate one of you. I don't know. I don't know who listens to this. But regardless, oh,
Aiden's more the love everybody person. So the podcast loves you all in one way or the other.
all right, sure, sure, begrudgingly. Um, yeah, so without further ado, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's roll that outro. Thanks, guys.